talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff, and we play games.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time. And we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So, anyone who would like... Hello, and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I'm Elise, translator, writer, and editor with 20 working languages, and this is the stream where we're gonna play some Oxygen Not Included for a change, and talk about language stuff and look at some of the best and perhaps not so great stuff that you can find on language learning YouTube. I always like to play Oxygen Not Included in dev mode because I like to just mess around and see what kind of designs I can come up with for things. So that's how we're going to do it. How is everybody doing, chat? Resuming a game and I don't even remember what was going on in it. We're gonna see. It's been a bit since I played this. Okay, let's see. Ah, that's right. I was setting up pneumatic tubes for everyone to travel around in. Hallöle, wie geht's denn? Zum ersten Mal hier, wa? Okay, was haben wir hier? Also Dampfventil. Gut. Ah ja, können wir wegmachen. Gut. Ah, schön, dass du mich heute erwischt hast. Kommst du her? Ah, was haben wir hier? Entsalzungsgerät. Ah ja, stimmt. Jetzt erinnere ich mich. Ah, Öl. Okay, we've got a leaky oil fissure. Now, what can we do about that? I guess the first thing we need to come up with some containment for that, I suppose. This is my attempt at an HVAC system here. That is one of the things I've been trying to do. Choosing a blueprint. Who have we got? Okay, we have a new person. How many bogs have we got? Oh, we got plenty of bogs. Yes, we are well bogged here. Now what I need to do is set up an oil reservoir. Okay. Base. Some metal tiles, and where have I got some space? No, I don't want to fill with supercoolant. Common substances. Get a vacuum going. There we go. Plumbing. Okay. Auslassventil. Jetzt brauchen wir nur noch Strom. This, okay, have you ever played Oxygen Not Included before? So what happens is, it's a colony building simulator. And the idea is you have to keep these actually rather incompetent, clone people alive despite their best efforts. And you get all these interesting components. You can design all kinds of tech in order to make it happen. Oh, it's a great game. I highly recommend it. There we go. Now we're pumping out the oil as it's generated. So we have like agriculture going on here. They're growing crops to eat. We have these pneumatic transport tubes. Gotta always be a bit concerned with how the oxygen situation goes. Oh, there's natural gas. I just like to, yeah, I mean, there is a, like, storyline playthrough you can do. That is, like, the normal way to play it, but I like to play it in dev mode and just try out all sorts of interesting just builds and find out what I can design. Okay, no researchers assigned. Ah, yes. Do I even have a research station for them to use? Okay. So, and then this area here is for storing all of the stuff that you dig up. Anno 1800. I haven't heard of that one. This one I heard about from Casey Explosion's curator page, and if you're interested in like quirky games, both stuff like this and also sort of survival horror games as well, Casey Explosion is a great streamer to follow. She has amazing recommendations for that stuff. Okay. Pressure is a bit too high. People are going to be having their ears popped. We've got to adjust that a bit. Let's see. What if I add some airflow tiles? Oh, that was meant to be... Yeah, there we go. Well, hey, give him something to do. See, this is an attempt to create sort of an oxygen generator that also powers itself. Well, a very German colony building simulator sounds like you'd spend a lot of time at getting Baugenehmigungen. Okay. So everything's got overpressure. that is a problem. Relatively minor problem, but a problem nonetheless. See, one of the really cool things is you have these, like, robotic logic gates that work like the real components. So you can design all sorts of, like, wild logic circuits and things. In order to automate all sorts of different processes that you've got. Chlorgas und Erdgas. So, for example, first we need ventilation. No, that's plumbing. I want ventilation. Gas pump. So we set up a gas pump. And now we need nested gas filters. Because we want to do multiple things here. Okay. Insulated gas pipe this time. Oh, you have to generate your own oxygen for the most part. In this case, what I'm using, this is the setup for the oxygen, is you have these electrolyzers. And if you run water into them, they split the water into hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen gets piped into this hydrogen generator and is used to generate power. The oxygen is then blown out into the colony. But then you also have to deal with the fact that you've got all these other gases going on. Okay, unbreathable gas. Natural, this one is going to be natural gas. This one is going to be chlorine gas. And this one is going to be oxygen. So we've got that. Now we have to actually set up what happens with the unbreathable stuff. So let's see. Gas reservoirs. Start out with that. Okay, go over to ventilation. Using insulated gas pipes. Okay, piping those in there. gas vent. And then another one. Okay, so we've got that. Now, let's see, automation. So, where gas element sensors. Gonna put one here. We'll put another one here. Actually, put one here as well. Now, I'm gonna go to our OR gate. Now we need to run some automation wire. The advantage of an OR gate is that you can actually tie a whole bunch of sensors to it. You don't need to do a very complicated situation. Okay. Now, set this up. Okay. And actually, attach that to the filters as well. The filters also require a power source. Okay, unbreathable gas, natural gas, unbreathable gas, chlorine gas, chlorine gas, chlorine gas. Now we need to hook up the power. Now, where do I have... Ah, there. I got a power connection right here. Now, we turn on the ventilation overlay. And we can see... how this is filtering out mostly chlorine because of where I've placed the where I've placed the pump, but it will also start filtering out the natural gas. What's coming out there? Is that carbon dioxide, I think? Yes, that is carbon dioxide. And that's the other thing you've got to be a bit careful with on this game. Because the carbon dioxide does add up after a while. And when it adds up, you run into trouble. As people start suffocating on it. Actually, I'm going to add a second pump. Mini gas pump. Put it up here. Same automation setup. There we go. And power cables. So now we're separating the gases and trying to eliminate some of that chlorine and stuff that will cause irritation and health problems for our weird little duplicate people. Oh, that requires mopping. Something seems to have spilt. Okay. That's fine. Now, another thing you can do with the automation to make some more space. Where is it? Oh no, this is considered shipping. That's right. Been a bit since I played this. Hey, Riveroon, how you doing? Okay, we're gonna dig that out. Need it. Okay. Add another sensor here. Where, okay, I need an Atmos sensor. That's the issue here. So I need to make sure that the pressure doesn't get too high. Oh, pretty good. Had a very nice sort of birthday thing yesterday. Involved walking in the woods and then briefly getting kind of lost in the woods. It's quite enjoyable, all in all. Hang on. Ah, there we go. We put it in here. Automation. Atmos sensor. Now we need some automation wire. It was lovely. I had wanted kind of a challenging hike, and I definitely got one. Okay, I'm also gonna just add same so we can gonna hook that up as well to these vents. So we want that pressure to go down. We don't want too much overpressure. We want to make sure that there is plenty of oxygen, but we also don't want to be popping everybody's ears. Okay, another, let me see, another Atmos sensor. Stick that here. We're gonna run that. Okay. Send a green signal if below 1,000 grams. Okay, we've created some space here. We can get rid of those. Okay. Okay, and this is how we clear up and clear away and store all the crap that's generated from digging and other such activities without troubling our little incompetent clone people too much. So we have a conveyor loader. Stick that here. Oh, hell, no, I screwed that up. Now, allow manual use as well. Now we need power. There we go. Now the conveyor rail is blocked. This is a problem I have a fair bit with these things. Okay. Add an extra conveyor rail here. No, it keeps breaking up in awkward places. There we go. Yeah, there's a bit of a traffic jam in my conveyor world here. For reasons I don't entirely understand. So we're gonna fix the jam in a very provisional sort of a way. What? Okay, that's steam. Oh, I have skill points I need to distribute as well. Duplicate skills. Okay. There we go. That's better. What's my Atmos sensor saying at this point? Okay, it is heading downward. Good, that's what I'm hoping for. Actually, more automation. Some sort of, what was it? Liquid element sensor. So we don't need this pump running all the time. Crude oil. Yeah, there we go. So... polluted water, moin GGM. It occurs to me a ladder would probably be a good thing to have up there. So you don't want them getting stuck. Oh. It won't let you change the language without exiting to the main menu, annoyingly. Don't know why that is, but it works like that. Mycket bra. Stations. We've got some sort of oil refinery thing, don't we? Milking station, shearing station, farm station. Blast shot clothing refashionator. I thought there was like, let me see. Oh, maybe it's under utilities? Space heater, liquid tepidizer. Oh, it'll be under, obviously, it'll be under refinement. Okay. Kiln oil refinery. Oh, sehr schön. Ich habe mich mit meiner Mutter so ein bisschen im Wald verlaufen. Ich wollte ja so ein bisschen sportliche Herausforderungen im Wald und die habe ich ja auch bekommen. Denn wir sind da irgendwie auf so einen Nebenpfad umgestiegen, der gar nicht auf der Karte stand. Und irgendwann wussten wir eigentlich nicht mehr nicht mehr so gut weiter. Pumpe. Aber also dieser Wald ist ja auch wunderschön. Es hat eigentlich sehr viel Spaß gemacht. Nee, Gaspumpe nicht. Flüssigkeitspumpe. Okay. Auffangbehälter für Flüssigkeiten. And we're gonna hook that up to the oil refinery thing. Ja, so sehe ich das auch. Das erste habe ich vom Winter eigentlich genug. Oh, why did it break? Okay. So one of our duplicants has reached the maximum stress level. That's not good. We want to keep them unstressed if possible, because otherwise they start breaking things and beating each other up. So we need to come up with an edifying way for them to de-stress. And we're gonna have, let's see, a juke bot. A water cooler. An arcade cabinet. A beach chair. I think that'll be good enough for now. Airflow tile for now. And now we're gonna just snazz it up with some drywall. In this game, that is considered a luxury item. Okay. And we need lighting. Automation, duplicate motion sensor, so that the lights only turn on when they're actually in there. Wait, where is it? Ah, there we go. Okay, now we need power. Oh, I see. Oh, wait a second. I seem to have missed an automation wire connection. So the reason that broke was that one of them got freaked out and stressed. Okay, here we go. Now they're going to be enjoying themselves a bit, and that should Reduce the stress and reduce the likelihood that they're going to be breaking shit. Which is ideal, because we really don't want them breaking shit. Now, I've set it up. Wait a second. Those lights should be going on. Do I not have a sensor there? I guess I don't have a sensor there. Well, we'll hang on. Motion sensor. Automation wire. There we go. There, all the lights go on. Yeah, stress level is already going down. Oops. Hey, Mask of the Red Death, how you doing? In a moment, I'm going to take a little bit of a bio break. Okay, so that is working partially. Ah, the refinery is working. To figure out things to do with it now that I have it. Actually, let me see, where is it? Something called the... Und das ist so, als würde man mich fragen, ob ich lieber Cyankali inhalieren würde oder halt gasförmiges Gold. Die sind beide Schreckensgestalten und ich erwarte auf gar keinen Fall irgendwas Gutes von denen. Dass sie biologisch abbaubar sind, ist dabei ein klarer, dafür aber kleiner Eventualvorteil, den beide aufweisen. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bio break. I will be back in a few minutes. And we will resume.
Hi, and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I am Elise, translator, editor, and writer with 20 working languages, and this is where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff. And we play games.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time. And we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
還元一級の先というのは本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は
Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Morfar är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Benedese. Her beautiful day. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is sword, and that also means elephant. Okay.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time. And we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Ça, ça, ah c'est ça, que c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça. Sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa. Ecco.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Hyper Polyglotting avec Élise. Moi c'est Élise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout GeoGuessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique, de l'acquisition des langues.
10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Night. Night. Month. Yen. Yo. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Bamba, okay, Bambas is duck. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon.
Sotto le frasche del capanno 4 gatti grossi stanno. sotto quattro grossi sassi, quattro grossi e grassi gatti. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré, des généraux dégénérés. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré, des généraux dégénérés. Facile.
Sì, sì, ecco, la gente, è la cosa che mi dice la gente, sempre che scoprisce che quante lingue parlo, io sempre avevo l'impressione, diciamo, di che non era così, non era tan così, ma poi, dopo di aver visto qualche poliglota in YouTube, una delle cose che avevo scoperte era giustamente che la metodologia usata da quella gente poliglota che non avevo mai conosciuta prima, era più o meno la stessa metodologia che usavo io.
I buy a computer or what? Here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or, but sounds vaguely like Hogun and the Hok in Hogun in Korean or Waku in Japanese, and that appears it is the exact same kind of character.
Okay, let me see.
Un chasseur sachant chasser, ses chassés sont son chien de chasse.
Der dicke Dach.
Okay, der dicke Dachdecker deckt dir dein Dach, drum dank dem dicken Dachdecker, dass der dicke Dachdecker dir dein Dach deckt.
Hola y bienvenidos al directo de Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. Yo soy Elisa, traductora, escritora y editora y comunicadora social con más de 20 idiomas de trabajo. Y aquí vamos a estar jugando videojuegos, sobre todo GeoGuessr, y hablando de idiomas, la mejor forma de aprenderlo y caleta más.
Zwei Zwetschgenzweigen zwitscherten zwei tschechische Schwalben. Tres tristes tigres tragaban trigo en un trigal en tres tristes trastos.
Oh, I see. This says "Diche ishai fui," which means "Do you want food?" But yeah, are you hungry? That kind of thing. How are the boys? Cine da boy. Posso Milao. Pote. Buenese. Proteine. Utros. Protoculo. In the designated chicken eating area, obviously.
Okay, still 3 times I have to defeat him. And I don't have a whole lot of health left. This is Elise with an update on the... Okay, and I'm back. Ja, der Schulz wollte damals als Bürgermeister von Hamburg den Bullen die Befugnis erteilen, BTM verdächtigen, ja zwangsweise Brechmittel zu verabreichen. Und das hat das Bundesverfassungsgericht dann abgebremst, aber spätestens seit er ja ins Kanzleramt aufgestiegen ist, hat sich das Thema ja eigentlich erledigt. Da braucht man keine Brechmittel mehr, man muss den Leuten einfach nur sagen, Schulz ist Kanzler. Und ja, also das hält nicht mal der stärkste Magen aus. Und naja, was kann man denn von Merz sagen? Die CDU wollte damals in den Gründerjahren die Entnazifizierung, die auf halber Strecke geblieben war, ja wieder rückgängig machen. Und spätestens seit März Kanzler ist, kann man ja sagen, das ist der CDU ja auch gelungen. Das ist Kartoffelfäulnis im Endstadium. Okay. Stress has been minimized. We have oil being refined. Gonna need some automation. In order to avoid any difficulties arising from running out of oil. There. Now the oil refinery will turn itself off anytime there isn't enough oil. Brasso in this season of Andor looks a lot like Volker Pispas. Hey, Hogsnout. For anyone not familiar with Volker Pispas, he's retired, at least last I heard, which is a few years ago. Yes, I mean, you don't have the option in Oxygen Not Included of invading places when you don't have enough oil, so it's better if it turns itself off, because otherwise it will just break. Volker Pispas, until a few years ago when he retired, was a German, stand-up comedian. And if you look at him, if you look at pictures of him, particularly in the later years, he looks a lot like Brasso in Season 2 of Andor. Not sure who plays him, but he is Cassian's friend from Ferrix, who covers for him, and he has a beard and sort of scruffy hair. Yeah, character. Okay, what's going on with the air pressure levels? Very gradually going down. Good. Oh, okay. We are slowly getting the conveyors working again. Everybody is eating adequately. What is this thing? Oh, it's a desalinator. Yeah, okay, which don't actually need. At the moment, okay. But a metal refinery would be good. What is the... What... Okay, what does it output other than... Okay, let's see. Get a pump in here. Okay, liquid bridge. Oh, that needs power. So I can get some metal being refined. Just want to make sure that it's outputting water and not polluted water. So if it's outputting polluted water, no, it's just water. It's just warmer water. So that's cool. If it's polluted water, I need it to go into the fertilizer synthesizer, which is next to it. Oh, I've got some unbreathable gaseous matter here. So we've got to address that situation as well. Oh, yes. I would say so. I mean, I've only seen as far as episode 8, but holy shit. I mean, I thought episode 8 was... I'd seen various people saying it might be like the best hour of television that they've ever seen, and I have to say it was really good. Extremely, as you say, heavy. Well, I will have to find episode 9 then. I mean, I have to say, it's just... They have done amazing with the characters in particular, but just how they've done the whole story has just been really good. Like, I really like what they've done with, like, Dead Ramiro and Cyril's characters. And I agree with everyone who has said that the standard, the way they did the Gorman language should be the standard for how they develop, you know, extraterrestrial languages going forward in the Star Wars universe. I thought that it actually sounds, people have been saying, you know, French, but it actually sounds to me like Breton, because it's like pronounced like French, but it very clearly is not French, but it's like the rhythm of it is so much that as a French speaker, I'm listening to it and it's like, my brain immediately sort of switches to expecting French input, and then can't make any sense out of it. I mean, just really well done with that. Really well done with all of that. Really, I need more automation here. It's too bad you can't do a gas sensor in this game that is just anything unbreathable. Like, anything that isn't oxygen, basically. Yeah, I can see that. But the rhythm was very much French. Like, the rhythm of it and the vowels were very French. Okay, I need an OR gate. Yeah, I caught that too. Oh, hang on. No. Need to shrink the destroy icon. That sounds about right, yes. Okay, automation. So I want these filters to operate no matter where the gas is detected. Okay, we need another. gas element sensor. Another ore gate. Okay, and have we got power already? Yes, okay. There we are. That is doing as it ought to, mostly. Oh, actually, one more sensor. One more. Mm-hmm. Gonna make that one CO2. The goal is to be just filtering all the unbreathable stuff down here. CO2 is already heavier than O2 anyway, so yeah, in the game as in real life. And the advantage of that is if you set up an area far enough down, you can have a CO2 sink and keep it away from your duplicants. One of the things I really appreciate, I'm trying to find things I can mention that would not actually require would not constitute spoilers. I guess this really wouldn't constitute a spoiler. But I like that in Andor in this season that they have actually sort of incorporated, like, they're showing how the Imperial propaganda system works, and like so many other aspects of how the Empire functions in Andor, it's all just the slightest bit familiar. I'm gonna change gears. We're gonna look at some videos for the last hour. What have we got? Okay. I've got some more examples of what TPRS looks like. The extremely useful, very useful input-based teaching method, of which there's tons of material on YouTube for at least the most commonly studied languages. It is very useful, particularly if you are in the beginning stages. So that's an option. Also have the unfortunately named the Tatification of the language learning community, and I immediately, I don't know that I would have gone with that. I don't know if I would have gone with that title, because I don't think that means, I don't think he means it the way I immediately take that. Which is obviously a reference, as a reference to the Tate Modern. So let's have a look at this and just see what this is about.
And this hotel itself is actually in the middle of a tourist spot, and we have thousands of Chinese people going by, like literally right now. Like, I am dead in the middle of a tourist spot. So if you hear car horns going off, music, like random speakers of people trying to sell food and shit like that, just understand that it is the tourists outside.
I mean, you were saying something about episode 9 being even heavier for a second there, and it's like, if episode 8 is not as heavy as it gets, I'm not sure exactly what episode 9 is going to end up looking like, because episode 8 was pretty fucking heavy.
The hotel. I do not have anyone locked up in my hotel room. Now, the other thing is, I just realized I left the window open, so literally anyone could look in right now and see that I'm sitting here on the end of my bed with no pants on, got a camera pointing at the bed, and I've got like mics and shit set up. Like, this probably looks like some dodgy porno's about to start. You know what? Let's do this, guys. No, I'm joking. I won't do that to you. And the last thing I want to point out is my cap. Now, I've gone through a pretty traumatic experience. See, over the last 6 months, I've been wearing the exact same cap. And this cap, that ain't it. See, I've changed caps. Now, this was not my intention. I did not have a nasty breakout from my previous cap. I loved my cap.
Okay.
I've been wearing it for 6 months straight. Never washed it once. It had the original flavor and smell, like it was burnt into the fabric. And
you're not supposed to eat it.
Suspicious if you don't ask me. Well, you probably are asking me. But anyway, here's the last thing, okay? I don't know where the fuck this video is going, but this cap, there's something weird going on. Look at this, okay? This is the very top. It sits perfectly on my head. But there's this giant empty spot to the sides, and it's...
That's where you hide your weed.
As if this cap is designed for a more circular head. I'm pretty sure. And, like, we had so many goddamn memories together. Anyway, let's talk about what I'm actually here to talk about.
Yeah, okay. Yes, I decided to skip ahead a little bit.
Then a cap for 3 minutes.
Gonna drop the link to the full video here in chat. Anyone who's interested, curious.
So I'm here to talk about weird trend of red-pilled language YouTubers.
Okay. Red-pilled language YouTuber? Jesus Christ. That is a frightening concept here.
I don't know if anyone else has noticed these videos becoming more popular recently, but I keep getting videos in my feed for language learning that seem to copy the format of red pill manosphere self-improvement content. A lot of
like, yuck.
These sell courses through school, which is a platform.
I mean, like, I will say, if the manosphere is pivoting to saying, why don't you improve yourself through, like, learning new languages or something like that, I would almost very extremely cautiously call that possibly some kind of a vague improvement, but I don't think that's where this is going.
Andrew Tate clones have been utilizing recently quite strange. Now, I have definitely noticed this. Now, if you go back about 5 years in the language learning space, you didn't have all of this like fraudulent stuff that you see now. Like, it did exist, obviously. It was there. It was like on
It's
the
YouTube. There's going to be dodgy shit.
People didn't really like say anything, but if it did happen, like everyone was evident. Usually, what it was just like some super nerd making outrageous claims. But at least he was interested in the languages he was learning. He liked the languages he was learning. But he just made completely insane claims, way beyond.
Yeah, I doubt it as well. I dare to doubt it as well. But okay,
actual abilities, and everyone kind of knew that. Okay. But over the last year or so, it has been getting a lot worse. And it has been following the content that we're talking about, like right here, which is basically you get people coming into our space, and they're not just selling languages or bizarre like claims that they actually make. They're also selling sex and fucking prestige with it. So basically, they're coming in.
They're selling. Okay, so learn languages, get laid is the sales pitch.
Like, all beefed up as if they just walked out of the fitness industry, which realistically is probably where they came from, because the fitness industry for the last 5+ years has been filled with this shit, and they've been dealing with this shit. It's like they've walked out of that space, come over here, and they're like, I speak 30 languages. Learn these languages from me, and you'll be banging chicks before the night's out type of
Oh, lovely
thing. Now,
okay, this is wonderful. This is a wonderful development. This is what we needed in 2025. Is like more YouTube assholes.
This shit is becoming more and more common. Obviously, I've noticed it. I've been critiquing these types of videos. Can you hear it? There we go. Music going off. And I've been critiquing these types of videos.
Clearly, he has a decent mic because I don't hear it.
Or etc. And the reason why this is this has been coming so frequent within our space, and it's actually going to get a lot worse in the coming years, is because the language learning community overall is too nice. We have kind of like a golden rule that everyone just follows, and that rule is you don't critique another person's abilities in a language, their language learning journey, or anything like that, because you might turn them away from learning languages, and you don't want...
I mean, I don't know that certainly he has not followed that golden rule, because I mean these investigation videos definitely sort of get into that, definitely fall into that, and it's like they could be worse. There is at least some sort of objective standard being applied there, but on the other hand, I have to say I don't really think it's great. Because there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of, like, fundamental attribution errors and stuff like that I think ends up taking things to a very dodgy place.
I want to be the asshole who does that. So there's been a rule that's existed for, like, since I started learning languages.
And I tend to agree with the idea that we should make it a welcoming community. Which is one of the reasons I'm actually really ambivalent. It's like, on the one hand, there are grifters. And grifters definitely need to be called out on their shit. If they're, like, making unsound claims, selling unsound methods. Like, there was a guy that he was talking about, that we looked at last week on stream, who apparently, he collects, like, 300 quid a month for nothing. Literally nothing. Just, he recommends somebody on italki who teaches Romanian, and he gets something like 300 quid, and she gets nowhere near that. I mean, yeah, there is grifting that goes on in this space, as in all sorts of spaces. I mean, YouTube really is a magnet for grifters. But on the other hand, I think we need to be, like, sort of careful about how we go about that, so that we're not, that we're not actually possibly turning off people who just sincerely are interested in languages and stuff like that. And I think there's a fine line that you have to walk on a lot of that kind of stuff. Sorry to hear about the migraine. I have a bit of a headache myself.
Some people talk about it, some people don't, but basically, just don't critique other people, don't be an asshole. And it's a great rule, because, you know, when we all start out, we don't want to be, like, smashed by the grammar police saying you're doing everything wrong type of thing, and then feel bad about it. But that does make us fertile ground for this type of content. This, you call it manosphere here. I don't think this is necessarily a manosphere thing. In fact, I feel like the manosphere has also been infected with it.
What do you mean infected with it? That's a bit of a weird way of putting it. I mean, the manosphere is that. It isn't infected with it. Like, it literally is just a bunch of reactionary, grifting assholes who are convincing insecure young guys that the way to success and sex is to make themselves utterly repulsive to women and to all people who they may encounter.
And unfortunately, the manosphere is so infected with it now. People only see the manosphere for this because
it's all it is. It's crap. It's disgusting. And I immediately, it's like, where's the redeemable part of the manosphere?
In fact, the manosphere was not always like this.
Yes, it was, though.
I remember years ago watching content from the manosphere, and the type of content was your dad.
What was the fucking prelapsarian manosphere where it was all like the good MRA grifters?
Dad figure. He was teaching young men how to fix a car, or how to. Well,
why is that the manosphere though? I mean, like, that's just teaching people how to fix cars, unless you throw some sexism into it, which it sounds like it must be.
Do things around the house, you know. Just he was basically being a dad figure. He was just a nice guy. Overall, you say, hey, you want to know how to fix your fridge? Well, all you got to do is you turn it around here, you use these tools type of thing.
And yeah, I mean, the manosphere, I would say, it is a term for bullshit that people like, Andrew Tate love to sell.
He was making videos. Literally, there was videos from people in the manosphere teaching you how to shave or to do a tie and stuff.
Well, yeah, but okay, but what makes that the manosphere as opposed to just being like skills videos? Because the manosphere isn't just content that might be primarily of interest to men, but not necessarily exclusively. That's not what the manosphere ever was. Like, as long as that term has existed, it has been MRA bullshit. That, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the manosphere is like, the manosphere is the scumbagosphere. It's a special, like, subcategory of the scumbagosphere.
Like that. They were teaching men how to deal with men's problems, basically.
How is a broken fridge? Well, I mean, it is a man's problem if it is the man's fridge, but it seems, I mean, you're talking about fixing cars and fixing things. That's just stuff that everybody could have a use for. That only becomes, like, I mean, if you're trying to make that specifically about, like, some sort of manhood thing, as opposed to a useful skill that then we've already got the roots of why the whole thing is problematic as fuck.
And it was good quality content. There was nothing wrong with it, okay? And that was the manosphere.
No, it wasn't.
But then people started to seep into it. Basically the frauds. And what they did is they overtook this manosphere.
Like, what? I mean, no.
And they turned it into a man is a guy who fucking lifts weights all goddamn day, you know, gets fucking beach muscles, you know, gets rich doing like fucking 2 hours of work type of thing, and then just bangs chicks from morning to night, okay? Now when people talk about manosphere, that's what they think. They see...
I've been talking about the manosphere since the term came into existence, and it was never just useful videos about how to fix shit. It was always extremely fucking dodgy and misogynistic. That's why somebody like Andrew Tate finds a home in it.
That. But they forget it was originally the dad figure. The guy who...
Well, yeah, but that was also... The dad figures, it was also dodgy shit. Because if it was saying, like, you're not a man if you don't know how to do this sort of shit, that's not good either, actually.
was just trying
because
to...
it's still feeding on, like, young men's insecurities.
Help the kids out there, the young men who didn't have a dad figure growing up. Who didn't... Or maybe they did have a dad figure, but he wasn't great. Like, there's also a womanosphere, if you want to call it. Like,
yeah, this is not what these things are.
same type of thing. But it's been completely and utterly infected now that all people see is Andrew Tate when they...
Yeah, what the fuck is the womanosphere?
Manosphere. And it's the same thing that's happening to the fitness industry. Now, the fitness industry overall, like, there is people finding...
Well, yeah, no, the fitness industry was full of dodgy shit from the very start as well. Yeah, like, okay. So to him, the problem with the manosphere is that grifters eventually got involved. Well, people, like, oh, God, like, okay, so what the fuck does this have to do with the language learning community? Because I thought we were going to be talking about, like, right-wing masculinity grifters getting into... Yeah, that's exactly... River Rune's got it in one right there. I mean, it is sold as male self-help. That is of course their sales pitch, but it's just anti-feminist, misogynist fucking scam artists.
Back within it, but it's pretty infected.
God, girl defined. You know, you're probably right about that, and it's like, Jesus, that. Okay, if you haven't heard of Girl Defined, watch Kaylin Conrad's video on that. It is hilarious. It is also, like, horrible.
And now it's coming to our space, and it's going to infect the shit out of us because we have the golden rule of never critique someone else's language abilities.
I mean, it's very convenient that he sees the solution as being to dispense with a rule he does not follow, I have to say.
Which makes it perfect for these types of people, because they can just walk in, make the most outrageous, insane claims, and no one's going to say anything.
Well, and I don't know about that. Like, I think there are ways to actually address that without, like, eliminating the idea that you should never, like, just be critical of somebody's ability in a life. Because the thing is, here's the thing about language acquisition, one of the key things about that is that anxiety, stress, self-consciousness, all this stuff is toxic to language acquisition. It is what is in the theory called the affective filter. And you want to keep that low. You can, and so, like, wildly going after people and saying, he used the subjunctive wrong. Look what this jabroni doesn't even understand Konjunktiv 2. And he says he speaks German or something like that. Like, you don't need to go down that road in order to be able to, like, point out when somebody is clearly a scam artist.
And then, what happens when someone new wants to learn a language, who knows nothing about languages? They're going to see some dude who says, oh, this is how you learn a language, it takes you so many years, blah, blah, blah. And then they're going to see some beefed up guy who looks like, you know, he knows how to deal with the body and stuff.
Well, I mean, and why exactly is the fact that he is beefed up going to increase the likelihood of somebody believing that they're already good at languages?
And he's like, oh, I learned 25 languages. And then he's going to say some, like, random scripted shit, and people are going to go, holy shit, this guy knows what he's on about. He's got control of his body.
Wait, okay. So he has bladder control, therefore he must be good at languages.
Got control of his mind. He speaks so many more languages compared to this fat, baldy white guy over here who speaks one language and, like, is really shit at another one. He's completely honest about it. Like, why would I listen to that guy type of thing? So it's going to take over our space. And these types of people are probably going to become the influencers within the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I do think the algorithm will help guys like that out quite a bit, because the algorithm loves clickbait. But I don't think, like, I mean, we briefly watched this thing with one, like, grifter that he was looking at. And that was a good example of how you can just utterly put paid to the claims of a grifter without even having to get into how well they speak any languages. Because, I mean, that guy was just so clearly on a grift without even having to talk about that. Because the thing is, you can actually be a scam artist. You can actually have the ability that you claim, and at the same time, be a grifter. In the sense that you're selling somebody something that that is overpriced, isn't going to work, isn't going to get them the results you promised, or is available to them for way cheaper without any drop off in effectiveness or whatever. Like, you can actually critique somebody's griftiness or the quality of the resources they offer or whatever without actually even getting into that, for the most part.
If we don't do something about it. So it's up to us. Like, it's that famous, Winston Churchill quote. What is it? I don't know. I'll give you the...
Like, I have actually critiqued Evil D's not great ideas about language acquisition and misunderstanding of what the input hypothesis even says. I've never said a thing about like how well he speaks any languages, because I mean the main thing is I've only ever heard him speak English, so I have no fucking idea.
Right, but basically,
and
if good people don't do anything, then the bad people take over. It's probably a lot better enunciated by Winston Churchill than by me, but that's essentially it.
Yeah.
So, that's how I see it, okay? I'm just the guy who's here pointing this shit out because, well, I've seen...
that he thinks that's a Winston Churchill quote? I'm pretty sure that's an MLK quote.
...seen it destroy other spheres, and I don't want it to come in here and destroy my sphere. Now, luckily for a lot of people out there, I am an Australian, which means I do get to the point a lot quicker, and I'm actually from a military background. Now, the reason I point out the military background is because I've seen real men.
I have also seen actual men. You don't need to be in a military background to see them. You just go out on the street. You will see some. Yeah, I mean, and already we're starting to see why he doesn't just automatically say the manosphere is a misogynistic grift machine. If he goes, well, I have a military background, so I've seen real men, and it's like.
And when I say real men, I mean like guys who will go to bat to help you no matter what. They'll come out in the middle of the night type of thing. And these are jack guys. These are big muscly guys, but they won't go pick fights.
I mean, except in Afghanistan and Vietnam.
The reason they won't go pick fights is because they know that can accidentally kill someone, okay? And they're not like roided up or anything like that. These are like legitimately tough guys who are also the kindest...
Well, yeah, but why... Okay, but what makes them any more real than other men who aren't that? Like, I mean, I'm looking at Evil D, and I have to say... Is he saying that he does not consider himself a real man? I mean, and if that's, like, I mean, I don't actually... Like, because he isn't those things. He isn't, like, jacked or anything. I mean, as far as I can tell, maybe... He dresses to minimize it or something, and that isn't anything wrong. I'm not the one saying that is, like, the determiner of what makes somebody a real man, or whether that's even a fucking useful, worthwhile category to maintain, which I don't think it is. Like, so...
People. These are the soldiers that I grew up with, and, I went through military training and I spent time with. And of course you get asshole soldiers and stuff like that.
Wow, really? I'm shocked.
They usually get slapped down pretty quick by the actual tough guys. The ones
Or
who
made
you do not want
officers.
to fire up type of thing. Because once you do fire them up, you're in trouble. But the problem is those fakers, and it's the same type of thing when it comes to languages, those fakers, if you let them, they will take over your space. And they're here, and they're testing the waters. And if you look...
Like, can you give an example, though?
At it from my channel's perspective, what I've been investigating, a lot of them are within the foreign-speaking language space, foreign to English. So
The foreign-speaking language space. So, like, what is that? Most people?
like, there's a lot of them coming out of
Like, is there a language space that does not involve people speaking some variation of foreign?
South America and non-English speaking backgrounds, and I'm not picking on those people, it's just that's where it's starting to seep in from. But it is coming into the English speaking space, and if we're not vigilant about this shit, then it's going to take over.
Isn't it a little bit weird that the language space would be broken up by language in that way, though? Like, surely
And
that's
within a few
already
years,
a kind of an
influencers
odd
will
thing.
be these guys. And it's up to us to do something about this. Now, this does mean that you need to think more about the golden rule. The golden rule is a
English the only non-foreign language.
good rule. We should keep following it. We should keep, encouraging people.
You don't follow it, though.
critique them unnecessarily, stuff like that. But you can't just apply it as a blanket rule. I've seen people apply this as a blanket rule. Like, there's been people who come on my channel, commented under my videos where I expose frauds. Obvious as hell that this person's a fraud. Like, it's laid out all there in front of them, and someone will say, yeah, but, they're trying. Like,
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, one of my other critiques here, I mean, and let me say, there are some people that he has exposed that I would definitely say they're definitely full of shit. They are, like, there have been a couple examples. Like, the first one I ever became aware of, I didn't even know about this guy until I saw that he'd done it came up as in my recommendations because he'd done a video on this guy who claims to speak 40 languages and will teach you them if you give him money. And his definition of speaking turned out to be, like, he can do one set phrase in a language of, like a 2-word phrase in it. Hey, Badger, actually, I had been hoping you would be on so I could also address your question. And so when we finish this video, we're going to talk about that. Because Badger had wanted to know about how I go about learning a language, how, concretely, beyond just input and stuff like that. And so I thought I'd talk about that, but we only got a couple of minutes left in this, and then that'll be what I talk about for the rest of this.
like, why do you
Good
have
to
point
see you,
out that,
Badger.
they've scripted some stuff. At least they're trying. They speak one other language.
Like, the guy who claimed to speak 40 languages, I decided not to publish it, but I thought of doing, like, a reaction video where it's like, if I followed that same standard that guy was using, which is, if you know, like, 1 or 2 words in a language, it counts as speaking it. I came to 56 languages that I knew to that degree. And then I realized later that I was actually one short on that. But it's a bullshit standard, because that doesn't mean anything. But, yeah.
But they're fraudulently saying they speak 40 other on top of that, or something like that.
Well, define fraudulently. Like, there's a difference between somebody, like, maybe overstating their ability in something, or overestimating their ability in something, which is not the same thing, and somebody trying to scam people. I would not say it's impossible to be highly proficient in 40 to 50 languages. I think it is highly unlikely to be highly proficient in 40 to 50 languages. I don't rule anything out. There are people who think it's impossible to be highly proficient in all of the languages that I have as working languages. So I don't say impossible there. I am skeptical, but I don't rule it out.
So, yes, the best fraud is always someone who actually, there is a kernel of truth to it. Yeah, they maybe speak one or two actual other languages, but that does not justify the claim to 50 other languages on top of it, or whatever, okay? So, we have to be more... Basically, you can't just apply it as a blanket rule. You have to be logical about these things and call it out.
Yeah, but, I mean, what is the standard here? Because it's so far... I mean, it's one thing to call out people who are on a grift. People who are actually trying to scam people and take their money for shit that they don't actually offer and doesn't do the thing that they say it will, and all that kind of stuff. That's... I mean, all for it. I do a bit of that myself. But... if you're starting to get into, like, sort of, Mask of the Red Death actually said it reminded her of transvestigating, and I thought that was actually apt, where you're just watching what is, by definition, totally inadequate video evidence of somebody's abilities, and then making assumptions based on that. I mean, that's not great. Especially if they're not trying to scam money off people doing it.
Because you may think it's obvious, and a lot of people in the language space say this, well, it's obvious that this is a fraud. But it's not obvious to newbies, okay? The people who are new to learning languages, it's not obvious to them. And I know it's not obvious to them because I've had them also drop comments saying, wow, I was following that guy. I loved his videos. I thought he was legit. And then I saw your video, and shit, I didn't realize...
Like, which guy, though?
That was all just bullshit. Like, if you think about it logically, like, your first time you ever learned a language... Now, some of you, maybe you...
I mean, the first time I ever learned a language, YouTube did not exist.
That's too young. But for me... That was realistically when I hit my 20s. When I hit my 20s, if someone told me that there's people that spoke, 25 languages fluently, I would have believed it.
No, I mean, you should, because there are people like that. You should believe that. That is not false.
Because I didn't know anything about language learning. I thought there was legitimate people who were just really good at learning languages.
I would dispute the idea that it's being really good at learning languages. Because if you actually understand how language acquisition works, and your methods are attuned to that, and we're about to get into how I do this, then it becomes actually quite easy. And in fact, one of the things that you notice when you start looking at people who do know a bunch of languages is that methodologically they have a lot in common. So no, I mean, if somebody says they know 25 languages, I mean, that is not at all immediately impossible. I would also tend to be a bit skeptical depending on what languages they're claiming, but...
And they were somehow just fluent in 25 languages, and they just had the method to do it. Like, I legitimately would have believed that.
Yeah, I mean, this is already taking a not good turn.
Maybe that is a sign of my own stupidity. Maybe I'm just an idiot. But if I'm
no comment.
An idiot, there's a lot of us out there. And they're the ones that these people are preying on. And if you let them prey on these people and acquire this audience and drown out the good content...
The good content being his.
Like from actual people who legitimately tell you how to learn a language, tell you the amount of time it takes,
The thing is, okay, the amount of time it takes is already... I immediately have my doubts about somebody starts to talk about, like, the amount of time it takes as if it were a fixed thing. That is going to vary very heavily. And you can't just use the State Department's figures on this, because all they really are is benchmarking the Foreign Service Institute's shitty methods.
That's actually involved, then those people will not exist anymore. And all you will have is the manosphere of languages.
And he's still, I mean, That's not what
So
the
it's up to
manosphere
us
is.
as a community to act on this shit. Now that's why I do my content.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Okay, so Badger had asked me in DMs, and it was a good question that I figure it might be worth actually just doing on stream, because I imagine other people ask. Like, how I go about a language. And the key for me, it's... Okay, this is where I would just say comprehensible input, but the thing is, comprehensible input, as I always say on here, is an ingredient, not a method. And so we're going to talk about exactly how I go about it. Now, I kind of happened on my approach. Das ist nicht nur nicht richtig, es ist nicht einmal falsch. Ja, das ist gut. I came on it more or less by accident. I was using all sorts of methods, mostly just like phrase books, and part of the reason I complain about the Foreign Service Institute's courses is for a long time those were like the only thing you could get for some languages, and they suck. They absolutely suck. Their fonts are awful, they're not really particularly, and they don't give you much input. But the thing is, I was always kind of curious what stories I was familiar with would sound like in other languages. So I gravitated towards an interest in translations. And gradually I realized that actually looking at translated editions of books that I was familiar with, that I knew really well, like backwards and forwards, was a really effective way to begin to get to develop some level of proficiency, some level of comprehension in a language. Not the entire thing, but it's a good starting point as long as there's no problem with the writing system. So that has always been sort of, since like the 1990s, I will say, a key aspect of it. The book that I use is John Grisham's The Firm, which it just happened to be an easy one to find translations of at the time. It has been translated into a large number of languages, and it was a book that I'd read a whole lot of times. I've read it even more times now in numerous languages. The reason that works, and it doesn't have to be The Firm, it can be just any book that is very familiar to you. I mean, it can be Theories of Surplus Value. Seriously, it can be anything. Is you're familiar with the content, you know what the story's about, you know what happens in it. And so, your brain is able to supply that as context in understanding it, even though you don't have the words that it's written in. You know the names of the characters. You know what basically happens in a given scene. And your brain can start wrapping itself around how your target language expresses stuff without a huge amount of effort going into what actually is going on in the story, because you already know it. Yeah, Disney comic books, that's another good example, because those have been translated into tons of languages. All sorts of things like that. And the more familiar it is, either because you've read the exact book a million times, or because it is about stuff you know how to do, the more effective it can be as a way of getting you started, beginning to help you gain access to the language. And that has been the main thing. And then the other things that I do, really, I listen to music in the language. Ever since Netflix is a thing, I look for shows in it, and I watch it in the language with subtitles in the language. Like right now, I'm trying to get my Finnish up to scratch. And so what I'm doing there, Finnish is a language that I've spent a long, long time with. I mean, I first started to have an interest in Finnish when I read in the early 90s that it was generally reputed to be a hard language. And I was like, oh, okay, and they have really long words too, tell me more. And so I started to be interested in it as a result of that. And, it was hard to find resources in it. But, I started, the first one I ever got was actually Stephen King's Misery in Finnish, which is called Pina. And, I've read that. I actually have that in Finnish, Norwegian, and Swedish. In Swedish, it's worth noting the main the character Misery Chastain. They changed her name because Misery actually is, translates to into Swedish as something that also works as a woman's name, Lida. So she is not Misery Chastain, she's Lida Chastain. And so I actually got my start in Swedish and Finnish through Misery to a great extent. And, later I found, actually, I think I was in Finland when I found a copy of The Firm, so I immediately picked that up. So I'm rereading that and watching Deadwind on Netflix to sort of really build my comprehension and kind of get myself up to the level I'm trying to get to. But, so my starting point is those translated editions, or another version of that also works, because sometimes it's hard to find them. For Georgian, I know that The Firm was translated into Georgian. I know that there is a store in Georgia that has a copy of it. They don't ship abroad. So I have no way to get my hands on it unless I go there, which is not going to happen anytime soon. But if you find, say, books that explain how to do something you already know how to do. In Georgian, one of the things I found was a book called Shevist Avlo Chadraki, which is Let's Learn Chess. And it is an absolute beginner's book in chess. It is so basic. It is such a basic chess book. If you have a 4-digit ELO, you could write this book. It is not going to tell you anything you do not know implicitly. And so the thing is, at that point, I'd watched some chess YouTube in Georgian, and I knew the names of the pieces. But that was basically all I knew, apart from some very basic Georgian vocabulary. And I could read the alphabet. The Georgian alphabet's actually pretty easy to get used to because it is totally phonetic. Everything is pronounced the way it looks. So I knew the names of the chess pieces. I knew some basic words, and I could read the alphabet. So I'm reading Shevist Avlot Chadraki. And it's explaining shit that I've known about chess since I was 8. How the pieces move, what the board looks like. What are there are ranks, horizontale, there are files, verticale, and there are diagonals, diagonale. And sometimes Georgian is very helpful in the sense that the words for the things sound familiar to you as a speaker of something other than Georgian, as is the case with ranks files and stuff. And so gradually I was, there was enough going on there, enough context, enough diagrams, enough knowledge that I was bringing with me that I could actually understand fairly well these descriptions, even though I didn't know the words, because I would know, okay, we're introducing the bishop. So what are they going to tell us about the bishop? They're going to tell us how the bishop moves, right? And of course that is exactly what they do. They're telling us what the bishop moves. And it says, say, ku gada ad gilebs diagonalebze. Well, I know diagonally. I mean, that's a diagonal, obviously. And so, obviously, context tells me, this is about how it moves. So now I understand about the concept of how, how to say to move back and forth, or whatever. Gada ad geleva. And so gradually you gain more access to more words, you gain more understanding, because you have this context, you have this prior knowledge that you're bringing to it. And, if you don't have a problem with the writing system, and you could just look at this, and then you can really start to make sense out of it. This is also why I like how-to videos, and have spent a lot of time showing how-to videos on this channel as a way for like beginners and low intermediate learners to work to get comprehensible input that they have a reasonable chance of comprehending, because a good how-to video tells you how to do the thing at the same time as they show you them doing the thing, and that gives you that visual context that helps you bridge the gap between what you know of the language and what you know and what you are hearing. It gives you context, and that is really everything. That is really the key. And you just, you can go from the really difficult period in language acquisition, especially second language acquisition, is that sort of beginner, low intermediate period, because a lot of the language as it is spoken in the world is going to be a little bit beyond you. But, and so the idea behind methods like TPRS and other input-based methods is to sort of provide you facilitated access to comprehensible input through like stories where they're going to give you visual aids and things, and they're going to simplify the way they talk about it, and allow you sort of to acquire from the ground up, which the world for the most part is not going to, if you just go out into the outside world in like, I don't know, Spanish speaking country, if Spanish is your target language and you don't have any Spanish at all, you might get some. Yeah, you might understand some, you might get some footholds in there, but there's a lot that you're not going to be able to work with, because there's a lot that you don't have the foundation for it. And it's hard to get the foundation, as an adult learner, unless you've got somebody who's providing you sort of facilitated, comprehensible input in one way or another. But the cool thing is, on YouTube, you can find TPRS classes in lots of languages. Like, there are Spanish language TPRS classes. TPRS stands, for anyone not familiar, for Teaching Proficiency Through Reading and Storytelling. Let me see. I was looking around for Spanish, because Badger is thinking about learning Spanish. So we're going to just, for the last few minutes, have a look at how that works. This is a channel called Adriana Ramirez. She's a Spanish teacher who uses TPRS in Spanish. And TPRS should not be confused with TPR. TPR sounds... TPR, it means... total physical response. It's also very much an input-based method, but it is not the same thing at all as TPRS. Okay. I wanted to actually hear...
Bien, chicos, ¿qué es esto? Un reloj. Un reloj. ¿Qué tipo de reloj? Despertador. Un reloj despertador. ¿Dónde es un reloj antiguo también?
This is a somewhat more advanced class. This isn't absolute beginners. This is like, she said, Spanish 2. But you see, you have this visual. You have all sorts of useful words behind her. So if somebody is stumbling for a word, they can find it.
Bien. ¿Dónde está? En la mesa de noche. ¿Qué más hay en la mesa de noche? Hay una lámpara. ¿Y pueden ver ahora qué hora es?
Yeah, so she's showing them this picture and they're describing the picture.
Y 40. Bien, 7:49 o 8 menos 11. 8 menos 11. ¿Qué piensan? ¿De la mañana o de la noche?
So the idea is, again, this is a more advanced class it's like apparently Spanish too, but the whole thing is done. You have these visuals. She like sort of kicks it off by providing a lot of explication. People aren't forced to talk, but they are invited to do so. So people have a chance to have like a silent period, which is just a natural part of the process. Why do you say you're screwed, Atta? It is time to wrap up. We only got a couple of minutes left. But let me just say, the search term to find classes like this in your target language is just TPR. I'm going to drop it in chat. And there's tons of this stuff on YouTube for any of the languages that are widely studied. I mean, less so if you're looking for something like Georgian. And now is the time on pockets when we dance. Yes, indeed. But, yeah, you know, for like German or Spanish or Italian or Chinese or Japanese or something like that, really widely studied languages, there is lots of this stuff. Yes, yeah. We watched a few of them, and there was like a video that we watched, and you can find it on my in my YouTube channel. Let me see if I can find the link to this as well. It should be easy because it is on my YouTube channel. Guy was introducing TPRS 2.0, and so we looked at that. And here you have it. But so, I mean, the real key is to find stuff. Yes. Yeah, I think that may be the guy that's in the video that I just linked to. I mean, the key is to find stuff you actually enjoy and want to spend time with. And that you understand at least some of. Through, like, context and visuals and all of those things. And the more time you spend with it, the more that you gather, you know, from context and from what you understand just directly of what's said in the language, the more progress you will make. And eventually you will get to the point where you do not actually need supported input, which is my term, not like a technical official term. Where you will be able to just find comprehensible input in the universe. Oh yes, I don't want to cause any accidents. But it is time to wrap up for today, and I will be back on Friday at 4:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Thank you to everyone who joined in. It's always good to see you, and I hope you enjoyed the stream.